Shalom. I apologize that I was not able to be in class yesterday, but I will share with you the notes that I had from Ruth 4, verses 1 through 6. And like the time before when I had to miss, I will read to you just the translation, not the Hebrew itself. And Boaz went up to the gate, the two is understood, and he, which is understood, sat there, and behold, the Redeemer passed over, or passed by, as we would say in English, of which Boaz spoke. And he said, "Turn aside, sit here, such a one, or so and so." And he turned and he sat. Now, I think we've talked about some of this before, but the gate area in a dwelling, in a town, in a moshav, in a ir, in a walled or an unwalled city. Well, this would be a walled city because it has gates. The area was large. There was the ruling group that would meet there with the elders. People would gather there for chatting, for gossip, for conversation. The Torah was taught there. People would settle disputes there. Merchants would come there to sell their wares. It was much like the gates that you find now in Old City Jerusalem, that are very large areas that you can pass through a large amount. And they had gates that would close and they would open. And so Boaz was sitting there in the area where lots of people were passing by, and he saw the gentleman who was to be eligible to redeem Ruth and the field and Naomi. And he's sitting there because he's confident that uh, El Shaddai will arrange something for him, for them. Each one has done their part. Boaz has done his, Ruth has done hers, Naomi has done hers. And so they're just sitting back and waiting for the father to do his part. The fact that the gentleman turned aside immediately, the so-and-so, the Mr. Unknown, who never has a name in the whole encounter, the fact he turned aside immediately speaks to us of the authority that Boaz had in the community. And I want to talk to you just a little bit about Peloni Almoni. This is a phrase much like we say in English, but yet a little bit different because it's applied to a gentleman here. We would say so and so or such and such as of a place, so and so as of a person, but we would be referring to them in the distance. We wouldn't call someone so and so. So it's a little bit different than it is in English. Peloni is from pala, which means distinct or distinguished. So hapeloni would be a distinguished one. Peloni would be, as in the name, distinguished one. It's talking to a specific person. It's speaking of a specific person. Almoni is from almon, which means closest that they can find to widowhood, or meaning someone or a certain one. And the only three times that you will find this used in the scriptures, Ruth 4 is the only time that it refers to a person. The other two that some of you may have done a little bit of study on, 1 Samuel 21:2 and 2 Kings 6:8, they refer to a place. So, as in such and such place, they were going there or they went there, or they were going to meet there or whatever. So this one is a little bit different and it feels a little bit awkward to us in English. And I'm not really sure how much that was used in Hebrew, since this is the only time that we find it in reference to a person in the Tanakh. Okay, verse 2, bait. And he took 10 men. In other words, he gathered them, but it's not the word gathered, it's he took 10 men from the elders of the city, and he said, "Sit here." And they sat. So once again, you see that Boaz is giving directives and it is immediately obeyed. They stop immediately, whatever they were doing, They turned aside and they sat exactly where Boaz wanted them to sit. And so this shows us, again, even more so, of Boaz's authority. And you notice that he called 10 men, and this is what the Jewish people consider to be a quorum. It's the minyan. It's the 10 that would be able to make a ruling, to make a difference, to make something legal. So he's making it evident to all, Boaz is, that he wants this recorded in the city. He wants everyone to know about it. It's not going to be something that's done off to the side secretly. He wants public knowledge about it. And he's letting everyone know that this is concerning the Moabites, and he's conducting this business. He's taking care of it on their behalf. And so he's taking the side of the Moabites. And as things progress and he takes the part of the Goel, then everyone realizes that he is stating publicly that he finds it perfectly legal, perfectly ethical, perfectly godly to be a Goel for a Moabitess. All right, and so we're going to move on to verse 3, the Gimel. And he understood, said to the Redeemer, the portion or the parcel of the field, which, and the was is understood there, le achinu, which is to our brother, literally means belonging to our brother, which belonged to our brother, to Elimelech. She sold, or she has sold, Noami. So Noami has sold the one returned from the fields of Moab, the field of Moab. Noami, sorry, parenthetical information, the one returned from the field of Moab has sold or had sold. Now, we've talked about this before, but in reference to our brother, Elimelech was not his brother. It was, they believe, the best they can trace it, that it was his uncle, the brother of his father, Salmon. But you remember in the ancient Near East, and even is still done in third world countries in the Near East, that they refer to any of their male family members as brother. Oh, this is my brother. And it may be his uncle, it may be his cousin, it may be his far removed cousin, it may be his grandfather. This is my brother. They refer to one another as brother. Now, this becomes an interesting kind of stickler point. The fields actually don't belong to Naomi, but he uses Naomi's name because she's the one that the townspeople are familiar with. She's the one that they've known for many years. But when a man dies, his property and his goods and his wealth does not go to the wife. We're used to it automatically going to the wife here in our Western culture. It does not. It did not then. It went to the sons. Only upon the death of the sons would it revert to the wife of the one who had owned it, which would be to Naomi. So after their death, she inherited the fields. And she inherited it from the sons, not from the husband. And that's why Ruth is involved, because she was married to one of the sons. So it's kind of like almost a joint ownership of the two of them. All right, so in verse 4, Dalet, we see that we've got Va'ani amarti. Amarti is I said, and you don't need the ani or anochi, but it's there for emphasis. And I said, I will uncover, or disclose your ear, saying by, before, or in front of the ones dwelling and sitting, or dwelling or sitting, and before the elders of my people, if you will redeem it. No, if you will redeem. And if not, he will redeem, declare or announce to me, and I will know, for there is not besides you to redeem, or except you to redeem, and I am after you. And he said, I will redeem. So here, Boaz first, in the first portion, he says, if you will redeem. Then he says, if he will not redeem, and he changes to he instead of you. So first he was facing the Redeemer himself and saying, if you will redeem it, redeem. But then he turns to the elders and the ones who are going to decide the case, and he says, if he will not, declare to me, announce to me that it's done. And then I'm going to know, because there's no one between him and between me. I'm going to be the Redeemer, and I will take the redemption right. And so we've got a change of subject there, but if you understand that this is what could have happened, that he could have been facing the one and saying, if you redeem, redeem. And then he turns to the elders, he says, if he does not redeem, I will redeem. So we've got that going on there. If you notice at first, Boaz first uses the word by. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, kene. By before the people, the ones dwelling here or sitting here before the elders. You buy it. And then after that, he uses the stronger word, redeem it. You take your part as redeem it. So first he just simply says, buy it. And then later he stresses that it's going to be for redemption, which will include not only the field. The buying would indicate just the field, but the redemption indicates the caretaking of Naomi and taking up Ruth and planting seed in her for her deceased husband. And you notice that the Redeemer has a very quick response. He's thinking, oh, more land. He is very willing to buy the field. What he knows that we don't realize is there are no heirs to that land. If he redeems it, it becomes part of his ancestral land. It will no longer revert to anyone else in the 7th year or in the 50th year. And so he says, oh, okay, Naomi, Ruth, they don't have any heirs, don't have any sons, so I'm going to get permanent possession of it. So yeah, this would be a very good purchase for me to do. So he's still just thinking of the land itself. I do want to bring up a word. It is the third word in this 4th verse that says egle. It is from the root gala, gima, lamed, he. And this is the same root that is used in Psalm 119, verse 18. This is a verse that I have mentioned to you that have had classes with me before multiple times. This is a wonderful verse to use before reading scriptures, and it is Gal enai ve'evita niflaot mitoratecha. Open my eyes, and I will see wonders from your Torah. I think this would be an excellent time to learn this verse, to use this as your memory verse. Psalm 119, verse 18, copy it out in the Hebrew. Jot down your transliteration of it if you need to do that, the translation of it if you need to do that, and memorize it and begin using it when you're reading scriptures in Hebrew. All right, moving on to verse 5. And Boaz said, in the day of your buying the field from the hand of Naomi and from Ruth, the Moabitess, he stresses, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead one, you have bought to raise up or erect or establish the name of the dead one over his inheritance or upon his inheritance. So in this one, he stresses, he makes it clear that the Redeemer must understand he's not just getting a field. He must perform the levirate marriage for the dead one, the husband of Ruth, to establish his seed to for his posterity. And so you notice that Boaz reminds him she's a Moabitess. Maybe he's putting that in there to discourage him because he really wants to redeem this himself. He wants Ruth to be his family. He wants Naomi. He wants to take care of her. He wants to provide for them. So he reminds the man that the field belongs half to Naomi and half to Ruth, because she is a Gentile of the nations that has been lifted up to status as one of the people of the Yehudim. And finally, he reminds the Redeemer that the main purpose is to establish seed for the dead one, and acquiring the field is secondary. So we've got to think about the Redeemer here, the one who's first in line for redeeming. Are these things going through his mind, the account of Tamar and the ones who tried to step in, the sons who tried to step in and establish seed for Tamar's dead husband, that they died also? Because she was a Canaanite, she was not a person of the chosen race either. And so is he thinking of Naomi's two dead sons who died after taking Moabite wives? And what happened to them? Is all of this what's going through his mind? We don't know, but just food for thought and for conjecture. All right, and then we get to verse 6. And the Redeemer said, I will not be able to redeem for myself, lest I will destroy or ruin or corrupt or spoil my inheritance. Redeem it for yourself, you, my inheritance. Redeem for yourself, the it is understood, my inheritance, for I will not be able to redeem. He doesn't explain why he can't redeem it for himself. He doesn't explain how or why it would destroy or ruin his inheritance. We are left to ponder those things